What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Oak Tree Football channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my 2021 college football preseason top 25 ranking. Over the next few days, I'm going to be doing a ton of college football videos to prepare for the college football season that is starting in a few days. And to start it off, I'm going to be going over my preseason top 25. I don't want to waste any more time. I'm going to get right into it. Starting at number 1, where I have Alabama. Alabama, of course, won the title last year with a 13-0 record, but they are losing so much production. Quarterback Mac Jones is gone. Running back Najee Harris is gone. Wide receiver Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle are gone. Cornerback Patrick Surtain are gone. And that's just a few. There's so much more that they have lost, but they are still going to be one of the best teams, if not the best team, in the nation this season. They're bringing in the number 1 recruiting class in the country, and head coach Nick Saban, of course, is coming back. One of the best, if not the best, coach in college football. In place of all the losses this offseason, Bama are going to be starting a lot of new young players, but a lot of very talented younger players, including Bryce Young. Did not get that much playing time last year. He was a 5-star recruit. Last year was his freshman season. Didn't get much playing time this season, but he's going to be playing this season, and he's probably going to have a big impact. He's a very, very solid player, good as a scrambler and as a passer, and he's also got some very good receiving targets, especially John Mechie, who is my current pick to win the Blitnikoff Award this season. The defense is bringing back quite a few starters, including Christian Harris, and they're bringing in Tennessee transfer Henry To'oTo'o. I think he's going to help that team out a lot, especially with some of the losses they've had. Josh Jobe, also at the cornerback position, is going to be returning this year. This Alabama team still has so much talent, despite everything they lost. They are going to be one of the best teams in college football this season, and they are my number 1 team right now. Moving on to number 2, where I have the Clemson Tigers. Clemson, another team that's losing a lot this season, and the biggest loss, of course, is Trevor Lawrence, with the first pick in the NFL draft. The star quarterback for the past 3 seasons is gone. Running back Travis Etienne, who's been a consistent running back for the team for a few years now, he is also gone. And one of the top receiving targets from last year, Amari Rodgers, will be gone as well. But this Clemson team, just like Alabama, looks really solid. DJ Uiagalelei started 2 games last season. He is going to be the start of the season in his freshman year last year. He started against Boston College, came back in the second half of that game, and in the game against Notre Dame, where he was excellent. Clemson did lose that game, but it was not his fault at all. He was excellent. And this will be his first full season as the starter. He's already proven that he's a good quarterback. And I think that's really going to help Clemson out this year. They know they already have a quarterback that they can rely on. A big storyline for Clemson is Justin Ross is back from injury, and he's going to lead a very solid receiving group for Clemson. I mentioned Amari Rodgers is gone, but Justin Ross was excellent 2 years ago, and he's going to be back healthy this season, and I expect a big campaign from him. The offensive line could be a slight issue this year. It was a bit of an issue last year in run blocking, but the defense should be great with players like defensive tackle Brian Brzee, one of the best defensive linemen in the country, cornerback Andrew Booth, one of the best cornerbacks in the country, and an experienced safety in Nolan Turner. This Clemson team looks really talented as always, and they should be a contender for the college football playoff, and they are currently my number 2 team in the country. Moving on to number 3, where I have Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma started last season off very, very poorly, but got increasingly better as the season went on and ended as one of the best teams in college football. Quarterback Spencer Rattler is coming back, and just like Oklahoma, last year he did not start off well at all, but got consistently better as the season got on, and at the end of the season, he was playing like one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football, and of course, he helped Oklahoma get that dominant bowl win over Florida. Spencer Rattler, great as a runner, excellent as a passer as well, and he is definitely in the race for the Heisman Trophy this season, and he's trying to cement himself as the best quarterback in the 2022 NFL Draft class. The defense is very underrated in my opinion. I do think it should be one of the best in the Big 12. I think there's a lot of talent there. I think the wide receiving group, there's a ton of talent there. Marvin Mims coming back this season. He's going to be a big help for Spencer Rattler. I think this Oklahoma team offensively is excellent and defensively very solid as well. It's going to be a good season from Oklahoma. I have them as the number 3 team in the country. Number 4, I got Ohio State. Ohio State is another team that's losing so much talent. from last season, including quarterback Justin Fields. He is the main loss there, but there's a ton of other losses as well, including Trey Sermon is gone, a ton of pieces on the defense leaving as well. But this Ohio State team should be very good again this season. Of course, they made it to the national championship game last year. They lost to Alabama. But the quarterback battle, it's going to be really interesting for Ohio State. Right now, it does look like C.J. Stroud will be the starter. I do think he should be the starter. I think he's a very solid quarterback, and I think he could have a great season. But the Buckeyes also have other quarterback options with Jack Miller, Kyle McCord, and Quinn Ewers, the five-star recruit who left high school a year early and will be coming in to Ohio State this season. But like I said, I do think C.J. Stroud will be the starter out of those guys. The wide receiver group is excellent, arguably the best in the country. They have a ton of talent there. And then the running game as well. Master Teague is going to be the starter of the season. I really like Teague a lot. I think he's going to be really solid. And the defense is great, led by guys like defensive end Zach Harrison, who I expect to have a big season. This Ohio State team, as always, is really, really strong, and I do expect them to be very good this season, and they are currently my number 4 team in college football. Moving on to number 5, I got Georgia, another SEC team. Georgia, last season, they were a very interesting team, but they ended the season very, very well, and that was largely in part due to JT Daniels coming in. He only played a few games last season, and those were at the end of the season, but he was brilliant. He was excellent on the field, and he's going to be the starter this season, and I expect a huge season from him. He is another quarterback that should be in the Heisman race this season. One thing that's going to hurt him a little bit, though, is that star wide receiver George Pickens went down with a torn ACL in spring camp and will miss the whole season. But they do still have some big playmakers like Kearis Jackson and LSU transfer Eric Gilbert. He is currently away from the team, but if he does get playing time this season, he could definitely be great. This defense as well is really solid for Georgia. The secondary is losing a lot, but they are bringing in cornerback Darian Kendrick from Clemson, and the rush defense is also going to be very solid. Jordan Davis at defensive tackle, one of the best players on this Georgia team. Expect a big year from him. This Georgia team looks really good. Another team that I see contending for the college football playoff this season. I think JT Daniels is such a good quarterback, and I just think overall this Georgia team, very, very, very good. Moving on to number 6, I have Iowa State. I really, really like this Iowa State team this season. They have the 4th best returning production in the country at 88%. 88% of the talent from last season is coming back, which is higher than all of the teams that I've talked about so far. Almost their entire offense is back, and most of their defensive starters are still with the team. The offense is incredible, led by quarterback Brock Purdy, who was very, very good last season. I expect him to be very good again this season. Tight end Charlie Kolar, arguably the best tight end in the country. A very, very good tight end, had a good season last year, and I expect another big season from him. Wide receiver Xavier Hutchinson, very solid. I liked him a lot last year, and I expect big things again from him this year. But the best point on this offense is Breece Hall, the running back. In my opinion, the best running back in the country. Was incredible last season. And a lot of these other guys are getting touches. You're seeing Brock Purdy throw a lot of passes. But with the touches that Breece Hall gets, he does so well. He is just an excellent running back. Was great last season. I think we could see him potentially in the Heisman Trophy conversation this season. If he can be even better than he was last year, I think definitely we'll see him in that conversation because he was so good last year. And then, this team was so good last season. They were very unfortunate to miss the playoffs. They lost in the Big 12 championship game after going on a long unbeaten run. Matt Campbell is one of the best head coaches in college football, so I think that's really going to help him out. I think this Iowa State team, very solid. I've met number 6. At number 7, I got Texas A&M. I was thinking about putting them at 6. I have them at 7 because I think their quarterback play is going to get a little bit worse this season with freshman Haynes King starting at the quarterback position, but I do still think he'll be solid, and I think this Texas A&M offense and defense overall is good enough to win them games this season. They are losing quite a bit of talent on the offense, like I said, especially Kellen Mond leaving the quarterback, but they're bringing back some important pieces defensively, including DeMarvin Leal, the defensive lineman. Excellent player. And then offensively, they're bringing back talent like Jalen Weidermeyer, the tight end, one of the best tight ends in college football. Isaiah Spiller, the running back, one of the best running backs in college football by far. I think he's very solid. Like I said, freshman Haynes King will likely start at quarterback, and I do think he could struggle a little bit, but I do think he will be solid, and I think he'll get better as the season goes on. And I think, especially because of how many weapons he has around him, offensive weapons, I think this Texas A&M offense is going to operate very well. I do think Isaiah Spiller is going to get a lot of carries, especially earlier on in the year. But as the season goes on, I see Haynes King kind of learning the offense more and more and figuring it out more and more and just getting better overall. At number 8, I have Cincinnati, the first Group of 5 school on this list. Cincinnati were so good last season, and they're bringing back a ton of talent. The offense is incredibly loaded. Desmond Ridder is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation right now. He's excellent as a runner and as a passer. Alec Pierce is a very solid wide receiver, and Jerome Ford is a very good running back as well. And then on the defense, cornerback Ahmad Gardner, one of the best cornerbacks in the nation. I think top 5, top 3 cornerbacks in the nation right now. And the defensive unit overall, I think, is very solid. The schedule for the Bearcats is very tough this season. They have to play Indiana, Notre Dame, and UCF. But Cincinnati is a very good team. Their only loss last season came in the bowl game against Georgia at the very end. They played Georgia very tough in that game. Cincinnati is going to be so much fun to watch this season, and I cannot see how well they do after how successful they were last season. Moving on to number 9, I have North Carolina. North Carolina are losing their top 2 wide receivers and their top 2 running backs from last season, which is a little bit worrying. But they are returning quarterback Sam Howell, who is, in my opinion, the best quarterback in college football right now. In his freshman season, he threw 38 touchdown passes. Last year, he threw 30 touchdown passes. And I expect another big season from him this year. Like I said, losing Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, Daz Newsome, and De'Ami Brown, the running backs and the wide receivers from last season, that's going to hurt. To replace the running backs, they brought in Tyson Chandler from Tennessee, and they'll be relying on Khafre Brown and Biu Corrales to step up at wide receiver, and I do think those guys can step up. There are some issues defensively, which is what really move this team down for me. I could have put them higher, potentially even at 6 or 7, but I'm not sure how much I love the defense. But I think overall, this North Carolina offense with Sam Howell leading the way is going to be excellent, and the defense is okay, and it's good enough for this to be a top 10 team in my opinion. Moving on to number 10, we have Notre Dame. Notre Dame are back to being an independent this season after playing in the ACC last year, and they are losing some talent, most notably starting quarterback Ian Book, the winningest quarterback in school history, is gone, and star linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah also left. Almost their entire offensive line is gone as well, and they're losing some other important pieces. They're losing a lot of production. They are bringing in fifth-year senior quarterback Jack Cohen from Wisconsin. He will be starting this season. He did not play at all last year, but it was solid 2 years ago. I do trust him to be solid this season for Notre Dame, but the number one piece for this team has to be running back Kyren Williams, arguably the best running back in college football. He's a really exciting player. He was very good last season. Another big season is expected for him. And then on the defense, one of my favorite players in college football right now, it has to be Kyle Hamilton, the safety. I think he is so talented, and I expect big things from him this year because I really love him as a player. I think one of the best, if not the best, safety in college football. So I do like this Notre Dame team. Maybe not as much as I have liked them in past years, but I do have them as the number 10 team in college football. Moving on to number 11, where I have Wisconsin. Now, like I said, Jack Cohen did transfer away to Notre Dame, but he did not play at all last year. The quarterback that did play last season for Wisconsin, that was Graham Mertz. He will be back and starting at quarterback again. He was decent last season. He was really good in the first game, but then kind of slowed down as the year went on. But I do expect big improvements from him this season. Not the best receiving group overall, but a very good O-line. And Jalen Berger, the running back, is very solid as well. The defense, as always, very, very good. And this team is returning a lot of their production from last season. They are 14th in the nation in returning production. Wisconsin was a bit disappointing last season, but I do expect them to return to be one of the best teams in college football this year. At number 12, I have Oregon, the first Pac-12 team. Anthony Brown will likely be the starting quarterback for them, and I'm not sure how to feel about him. I do think he'll be solid, but I don't think he'll be that great. But it does help him a lot that he has arguably the best running back duo in the nation of C.J. Verdell and Travis Dye. Both of them were excellent last season. Both of them were excellent 2 years ago. This is an excellent running back duo overall. I really, really like C.J. Verdell. Very good speed, very good elusiveness. And then Travis Dye as well. Has the capabilities of being a starting running back on most teams, but he's probably going to be the second string for Oregon, but he's going to see a lot of touches as well because of how talented he is. But the strongest part of the team has to be the defense, specifically the front seven, and it features guys like defensive end Kayvon Thibodeau, in my opinion, the best player in the Pac-12, the best defensive end in college football, and maybe the best defensive player in the nation. He was dominant in his freshman campaign. Last season, he was very good as well. It's going to be interesting to see how well he performs in a full season. On the defense, they also have freshman linebacker Noah Sewell, the brother of Penei Sewell, who apparently has been very solid in camp, so I think he can be solid this season. Overall, Oregon, they look very good. Like I said, not sure how I feel about the quarterback situation, but I think everything else looks good for Oregon. At number 13, I have Miami of Florida. Miami was very good last season, and I think they did surprise some people, including myself, and they are third in the nation in returning production at 91%, and 95% of their offense from last season is coming back, which is best in the nation. D'Eriq King tore his ACL at the end of last season, but he has recovered very well, and he will start in the first game of the season against Alabama, assuming nothing happens in the next few weeks to days. The Miami offense is full of talent, including running back Cameron Harris, transfer wide receiver Charleston Rambo, who was very good, and I expect him to have a big impact this season, and star left tackle Zion Nelson, arguably the best left tackle in college football. On the defensive side of the ball, they have Bubba Bolden, one of the best safeties in college football as well. So this team, a lot of talent overall, an excellent offense, like I said, and a very solid defense as well. I do think that maybe D'Eriq King will start off the season a little bit slow after the injury, but I do think he'll be very solid after a very good season last year as well. I like this Miami team a lot. I think a lot of people like them. I have them 13th in the nation. At number 14, I have Penn State. Last season, they started off poorly, going 0-5. But as the season went on, they got better. They ended the season with a 4-game win streak and a 4-5 record. Sean Clifford is back at quarterback. He's okay. I think he needs to step up. But he does have wide receiver Jahan Dotson, who broke out last year, and I think he'll get even better this season. And I do think the passing offense should be good this season. The rust game should be very good as well with Noah Cain. The defense should be good as always. And I do expect a big bounce back year for Penn State. At number 15, I have Indiana, another Big Ten team. Indiana were a very pleasant surprise last season. They were very good. Michael Penix got injured at the end of last season. He's coming back. Wide receiver Ty Freifogel, who was excellent last season, is returning, and so is senior tight end Peyton Hendershot, one of the best tight ends, in my opinion, in college football. On the defensive side of the ball, Micah McFadden, a very, very good linebacker. He was excellent this past season, and I expect a big year from him again. I do think he can be one of the best linebackers in college football this year. He led the team in tackles and sacks last season. I expect something similar this year. And then cornerback Jalen Williams also back. He had 4 interceptions last season. This Indiana team, defensively and offensively, looks really solid. I am so excited to see them again after a very good year last season. I think they're going to be very good again this year. At number 16, I have LSU. Very, very disappointing last season. They won the national title 2 years ago, and then they lost a historic amount of players, and last season were so disappointing. but they should bounce back in a big way this season. Sophomore quarterback Max Johnson will be the starting quarterback. He played 6 games last season and was quite solid as a freshman. I believe he threw 8 touchdowns and only 1 interception, and he helped them to get some good wins. Keyshawn Butte, also a sophomore, the wide receiver. He was very good last season, and he's going to be excellent this season. He's going to be one of the best wide receivers in college football. He's going to get a ton of targets. He's going to get a ton of receptions. And I think he's going to embrace the number 1 receiving role in a big way. The offensive line is also very good, and the defensively very good, especially the secondary and especially the cornerbacks. Derek Stingley Jr. and Eli Ricks are the best cornerback duo in the nation. Both of them have been so good the past couple of years. Derek Stingley 2 years ago in his freshman season was dominant, was the best cornerback in college football. If maybe not the best, but one of the best. He was so good. Took a bit of a step back last season, but should bounce back this season. In my opinion. And then Eli Ricks was a freshman last season, surprised everyone. I believe he had 4 interceptions, which I think led the team. He was very, very good last season. So the defense was very poor last year, but I definitely think it should see some considerable improvement this season, especially with the very good cornerback duo of Stingley and Ricks. I like this LSU team this year. I have them at 16. Number 17, I'm going to go with Florida, and a lot of people are going to think that this is probably low for Florida, but they're losing so much talent, and there are way too many question marks on this team for me to say that they will be higher than this. Kyle Trask is gone, Tony Grimes is gone, Kadarius Toney is gone, and of course the do-it-all tight end Kyle Pitts is gone. Because Kyle Trask is gone, this means that Emory Jones will be starting at quarterback, and I really don't love him that much. I think he's very solid as a runner, and I think we're going to see that this season, but he really struggles as a passer, in my opinion, and I don't see this Florida passing offense being that good this season, especially losing their 2 top targets from last season, Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney. The defense will also struggle. Kaiir Elam is a very good cornerback, but there are too many question marks on the defense, in my opinion, but I do think this team will be good because I think Dan Mullen is a very good coach. I do think it will be a step back for Florida, especially based on last season, but I do still think this Florida team is good enough to be a top 25 team. I'm at number 17. Number 18 is Iowa. Iowa's a team that I don't really like that much usually, but I really like them this season. They were very solid last year, and I do think they're going to be very solid again this year. Spencer Petras, the quarterback, he was okay last year, but he needs to take a step up this season if this Iowa team wants to be potentially a Big Ten contender. The offensive line is going to be really good as always. And running back Tyler Goodson is a very good player, and I expect them to be very important for this Iowa offense and potentially one of the best running backs in all of college football this year. The defense is losing some important pieces at the linebacker positions and on the defensive line, but I think it should still be solid this season, so I like this Iowa team. I have them at number 18. Number 19 for me is USC, another Pac-12 team here. USC quarterback Kedon Slovis took a bit of a step back last year. He was excellent as a freshman. I do think he should get better this season. He has some very good receiving targets, specifically Drake London, one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the Pac-12 right now. I expect a big campaign from him, potentially one of the best receivers in the nation, especially with a quarterback as good as Kedon Slovis throwing to him. When Kedon Slovis is at his best, he's a top 10 quarterback in college football. Defensively, the defensive line especially, very, very good. Headlined by edge rusher Drake Jackson. The USC defense isn't incredible, but the offense is great, and I do think the defense is good enough with guys like Drake Jackson, like I just said. So I like this USC team. Moving on to number 20, I got Louisiana. Another group of 5 school. Louisiana were a very big surprise last season, and they're number 1 in the country in returning production this season. They are bringing back 96% of their team from last year, which is excellent. They finished 10-1 last season, which included a 17-point win over Iowa State. Their only loss was a 3-point loss against Coastal Carolina. Another very solid team that I will be talking about soon. Levi Lewis is back at quarterback. He was solid last season, but I definitely expect improvement from him this year. And the defense is full of talent. The linebacker duo of Lorenzo, McGaskill, and Farad Gardner was great last season, and the secondary is very solid as well. The schedule is tough. They have to play Texas and Liberty this season, but I love Louisiana as a team. I love head coach Billy Napier as well. So I expect big things from Louisiana this year. Moving on to 21, we have another Pac-12 team, and that's Washington. Washington was very solid last season. COVID headlined their year. They did win the Pac-12 North Division, but they couldn't play in the title game because they had COVID in the program. Hopefully this season it won't affect them that much. They are almost returning their entire offense, which I think will help them a lot. And this season, Dylan Morris will probably be the starting quarterback. He wasn't great last season, but I do think he can be a little bit better this year. Overall, though, the offense is not excellent. They do have Cade Otton, the tight end. I think he's one of the better tight ends in college football, but overall, I don't love this offense. But one of the big storylines on offense is Sam Heward is coming in at quarterback. The former 5-star recruit. He probably won't be the starter right off the bat, but it'll be interesting to see if he does get any playing time and what he can do in that playing time. But the most important part of this team is the defense. Defense is always solid for them, and I do think they'll have to rely on that a lot this season because I don't love the offense, and I don't think it'll be able to put up too many points. But the defense is great. The offense is good enough. I have Washington as the number 21 team in the country. At number 22, I have Liberty, a team I am so excited to watch this season. At quarterback, they have Malik Willis, who is one of the better quarterbacks in college football in my opinion. He's very, very fast. He's an excellent runner. He's got excellent arm talent. And he's a great passer as well. I think he is excellent. I think there is so much upside with him as a player. One of my favorite players in college football right now, and someone I'm very excited to see this season. At head coach, they have Hugh Freeze, one of the best head coaches in college football. Very, very good. The running game should be solid as well with Joshua Mack and Utah transfer TJ Green. Of course, Willis is also a very good runner. And then defensively, Darrell Johnson is back with the team. He led the team in sacks last year with 8.5. The defense is solid overall, but the offense overall is the strong point for this team. I like this Liberty team a lot this season. Number 23, I have Coastal Carolina. I said I would be talking about them soon, and here we are. Another Group of 5 school, Coastal Carolina, potentially the biggest surprise in college football last season. Nobody expected anything from them, and they ended up being one of the best teams in the nation. They lost only one game, and that was against BYU in the bowl game. Grayson McCall, he was excellent last season in his freshman year. He's a very good dual threat quarterback. Senior wide receiver Javian Hiley is back. He was very good last season, and I think he's going to see a lot of production this year. Defensively, linebacker Silas Kelly is back after a solid year, and so is cornerback DeJordan Strong, who led the team in interceptions last year. I really like this Coastal Carolina team. I think a lot of people really like this Coastal Carolina team, and they're another team that I'm excited to see this season, to see how well they do after the shocking success of last year. At number 24, I have Arizona State. I was considering not having Arizona State in this top 25, but I do think they are good enough. Jaden Daniels is still the quarterback, arguably the best quarterback in the Pac-12, and one of the best in the nation at his best, I think. A little bit disappointing last year. They had to miss a few games due to COVID. I think they finished 2-2, but they ended off the season very well with the dominant, I believe, 70-7 win over rivals Arizona. And I do think they'll bounce back this year. I think they'll improve this season. Like I said, I do like the offense, and the defense is solid as well. So I think this Arizona State team very good this year and should contend in the Pac-12. And then at number 25, I got an SEC team. I got Ole Miss. Ole Miss last season were a lot better than people thought they would be. Matt Corral is maybe the best quarterback in the SEC and one of the best in the country, and I could see him potentially being a Heisman candidate if this Ole Miss team is good, and he has an excellent season. He doesn't need to limit on the turnovers. I believe he threw 14 interceptions last season. He had quite a few fumbles as well. But if he's healthy, or if he can limit on the turnovers. He's going to be great this season. Overall, the offense is explosive and excellent. Darian Ely, the running back, is very good. He's got some very solid backups as well. And with Corral and a good group of receivers, the pass game should be solid as well. The thing I am worried about, though, is the defense. And that's why I was considering not having Ole Miss in this top 25. I think they just edge out the team I have missing out, which I'll talk about in a second. I'm worried about the defense. It was poor last season, and I can't see it being that great this season. But I do believe that 10 starters are returning on the defense, and I do think that they will improve overall as a unit. So I do like this Ole Miss team just about enough to give them the number 25 spot in my top 25. Moving on just to the teams that just missed out. You see the closest to making it in was Utah. They brought in transfer quarterback Charlie Brewer. Don't love the offense. Not sure how Brewer will do this season, but the defense is excellent as always. Oklahoma State. Spencer Sanders is an okay quarterback, but the running backs are the best part of that team. Chuba Hubbard is gone now, but they still got a ton of very good running backs. Texas, just missing out as well. A lot of people think they are a top 25 team this season. I don't think they're there yet. I think they're very close. I like Bijan Robinson, the running back. He was very solid last season. Got better as the season went on. He's going to be excellent this season. One of the best running backs in college football, definitely. Casey Thompson is probably going to start at quarterback. I saw him in the game against Colorado, the bowl game last season for Texas. He was great in that game. He looked really, really good. I believe he threw 4 touchdowns in the second half. So there is a bit of a quarterback battle at Texas right now, but if Thompson wins, I think he'll be solid. And Steve Sarkisian is coming in as the head coach. I do like him. Next up, TCU right there. Zach Evans, the running back, very good running back. And I think this TCU team overall, offensively and defensively, is very solid. But quarterback Max Duggan needs to improve if this team wants to be a top 25 team this season. Boston College, their quarterback Phil Jurkovec, very solid last season. He was up there as one of the leaders in pass yards in the ACC. And Zay Flowers, the wide receiver, is back. An excellent wide receiver, probably one of the best in the ACC. So I do like this Boston College team. I think they'll be solid, but not good enough to make the top 25, in my opinion. And then you see 5 more teams there, not quite as close as the other ones, but still very close to the top 25. NC State, Devin Leary is their quarterback. He's a solid quarterback, but the best part of the offense, Zonovan Knight, the running back. He was very good last season. He was very good 2 years ago, and I expect his best season yet this year. Then I got UCF. Dylan Gabriel is their quarterback. He's a very, very good quarterback. I feel like I've repeated this a lot, but I do think he is one of the better quarterbacks in the country. The offense overall is very solid. Not so great defense, though. And I'm worried about that. Next up, I got Nevada. Nevada surprised a lot of people last season. They were one of the best teams in the Mountain West Conference. They're bringing back quarterback Carson Strong, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And a lot of people think he could become one of the top quarterbacks prospects for the next NFL draft. I do like him a lot, and I do like this Nevada team enough. Next up, I got West Virginia. They've got a solid defense, a solid offense, and a very solid team overall. I do like their quarterback, Jared Dakey, and I do expect to see pretty solid things from him this year. And then the last team is Boise State. They're always good. Hank Bachmeier is a very solid quarterback. The run game, though, not great. But I do like the Boise State team overall. So that is my preseason college football top 25. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and please subscribe if you're new here. A ton more college football content is on the way and will be out soon. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video.